So anyway, he goes down, and there's Jason at the piano, and he's kind of, and all of a sudden, just as this guy's about to bash Lois's head in, this piano comes woof across the screen and just takes out this goon. Which means that Jason has just killed. Now, me and Steve and Greg on Thursday were having this big debate.
It was a big debate. It was great fun.
About Jason's motivations, because Greg is like, well, the son of Superman killed. And I don't believe that Kal-El Jr. would kill. I mean, okay, he did. But the reasons he did it are, I think, one, self-defense. And two, I don't think he meant to, because, like I was saying to Greg, when you're shocked to something, you brace yourself. If you kind of get some bad news, you like brace yourself against the wall. Now, what if he's doing that? The Kryptonite's just activated his cells, and he's like, and his arms are bracing, and all of a sudden his arms just go whoomp, and the piano goes forwards. No, I mean, he's a short kid, you know, also, and Greg was like, well, no, because your weight would push forward. That's true, but not if you had super strength, because really, it'd be like flicking a match, wouldn't it? When you flick a match, you don't go, ugh. You just go, yeah. So if he had super strength, he could technically just go, ugh. And afterwards, when Lois and Jason get chucked in the brig, because by this point Lex has gone, who's that boy's father? Hang on, it might be Superman. Hang on, something just happened.
And then suddenly the goons come in and say, oh yeah, by the way, so something terrible, Carl's dead. It's like, we should go.
And so yeah, while he's in the brig, Jason actually turns around, because Lois goes, can you help Mommy open the door? And he goes, I'm sorry, which means he knows what he did was wrong. I don't think he did it intentionally. I mean, Greg will probably never agree with us on this. I mean, Greg doesn't agree with the Cave Troll and all the rings. I like the Cave Troll and the twins in Magic Reloaded, Greg. To you.
Sorry, Greg. There's some things, you know, you just... Don't worry, during the Transformers review, you'll understand. So anyway, they find the coordinates. Superman does that amazing thing in the lift. He goes out. We're speeding along because we're getting to the important bit now. Yeah.
So basically, then he sees the earthquake that's come from New Krypton being formed to Metropolis, starts saving Metropolis. It looks awesome. He basically gets to, apart from X-ray vision, every single one of his powers, which, let's face it, we wanted to see. We see him use the breath, his heat vision with the glass, use his strength, the bit where he just goes through all his buildings, through the Daily Planet, grabs the globe, and then sits down. At which point, Jimmy, taking the pictures, realises that Superman is Clark Kent because of the look on his face. Watch it again, you'll see what I mean. We really are going through this well. Okay.
Really, did he?
Huh?
Is that what you think? When Jimmy takes those pictures?
Look at his face.
I just thought he was pleased that he got an iconic shot.
No, I reckon he's going, Mr. Clark. Okay, so, Charlotte's boat.
Yeah, you know. Smash.
Oh, yes. So Richard comes on and gets them out of the brig, and then this shard of New Krypton comes up and goes whoop through the boat, and the boat's kind of teetering, and then it falls off, they go in the water, they're drowning, Lois is knocked out, and then Superman, 1 foot, 2 foot, drags the boat up. And so yes, he then puts them back on the plane, he gets the plane, and he says bye-bye, and off they go, and Lois is asleep, and so he goes on to Krypton, and he lands, and he breaks the fucking floor, pretty much.
Which is a bit of a mistake for him,
yes.
Because the floor is laced with Kryptonite.
And Lex says, see anything familiar? I see an old man's sick joke. And so he walks up the stairs, and basically, yeah, they kind of do a pan down. You see this Kryptonite. Now, this is another thing that Greg and I and Steve were kind of banding around on Thursday. Because, now, they've taken a huge shard of Kryptonite, and it's growing with the crystal, and then when it grows, the crystal grows out green. Which means all this Kryptonite is infusing the entirety of the fucking new Krypton. But Greg was saying, and he made a very good point, that it was that much Kryptonite would be diffused over a certain area. But seriously, the rock on New Krypton is like an epidermis compared to the Kryptonite underneath, especially when he's lifting the rock. Because this is our biggest point of contention. The Kryptonite in Superman Returns makes no sense whatsoever. It really fucking doesn't, because Superman lands on the thing, he walks up, he starts sweating, Lex hits him, and he just goes... Now, okay.
So then the thugs beat him up and...
Well, no, yeah, and then we go back to the plane, and Lois says we have to go back, and Jason, they swing the plane back. But I'm thinking, right, so at that point, with only mild exposure to Kryptonite like that, basically, Lex Luthor has just punched Superman. He's pretty much knocked out because he can't even get up against the thugs. Okay? And I hated that scene. I fucking hated it. It was a brilliant scene, don't get me wrong. But
it's tough to watch.
It is. It's very... I admit, I cried. I did. It was watching Superman Superman be beaten up like a 12-year-old kid. And if you were ever bullied at school, like I was, but now I'll kick their ass because I know Kung Fu. You know, if you've ever been, you know what that's like. And for it to happen to Superman, for Superman to be that helpless, I mean, you've got to be heartless not to give a crap about that, really. I think you really do. And so you see him, and then sort of like Lex Luthor stabs him and says, now fly, and Superman gets up, and then he just goes, whoomp.
And falls into the water.
Okay, so they come back, they get him, they remove the Kryptonite shards.
Jason sees him.
But not all of the Kryptonite shards.
And Jason sees him. Jason's the one that sees him in the water as they're flying around.
Which Steve made a very good point earlier. Could that possibly be sort of like Jason's super sight? We'll see. So anyway, Superman goes, I have to go back, and he goes up and absorbs the sun's rays for all of 3 seconds. But he still has, because when they go to the hospital, they remove a small bit of kryptonite. Right, now get this. He still has a piece of kryptonite in him. He has been up to the sun for about 5 fucking seconds. He then uses heat vision to go through the clouds, go down, go into it, and then lift the entirety of New Krypton up. Now, New Krypton is laced with kryptonite. New Krypton, you know, is big. He's still got kryptonite in him, and he's had all of 5 minutes of the sun, and yet he can lift this thing. No, but that's not all that's wrong, because after Lex escapes, and you see Superman pushing up the mountain, these shards, these fucking huge shards of kryptonite are like
closer and
here
closer to it.
and here. And fair enough, he pushes it out, and then, you know, he falls back.
It's not a question that he's not strong enough to do it, because he is strong enough to lift.
But not with kryptonite in him, and be that amount of kryptonite that close. I mean, let's face it, when he had been exposed to a small slither in the atmosphere of it just by landing, and there being that slither, he got knocked out by Lex Luthor. And yet we're supposed to believe when he's surrounded by that much,
that he can still lift it, despite the fact he's just been infused with sunlight. And also, he's
still got a piece of
kryptonite in him, and he's not getting any direct sunlight because of the storm that's happening around New Krypton.
Yeah, it just...
And then he eventually gets it out of the atmosphere.
Look, here's what we put
in the notes.
This makes no sense. Still, no sense of this scene. I'm serious. This is our main point. We're like, what the fuck? I mean, what is going on here? They just... It's like kryptonite, it might give him the flu.
But then, I mean, kryptonite's always been kind of... It depends. It's always been...
But that much. That much.
Yeah, I know.
You know, and he's been stabbed with it.
True.
I mean, technically, he would have had to fly through a yellow sun to be able to do that, in my opinion, to absorb that much energy, like All-Star Superman.
All-Star Superman.
I seriously reckon it would have to be like that.
Yeah.
So that is just fuck off. No, that is just wrong. I'm sorry, Superman should never have been able to do that. Not if it was.
I mean, he would have been able to lift it up. A little, but he wouldn't have been able to lift it all the way up into space. He would have lifted it up just into the clouds and gone, well, this is really too much for me.
Exactly. And also, I mean, the effect of actually ripping it out of the Earth, it would have caused earthquakes everywhere. Seriously, because you saw it when it landed and it started growing, it was going into the rock.
Oh yeah, but I think the quake has already happened by that point. And
yeah, but you think about it, you're ripping the Earth apart.
Yeah, but I mean, he knows ways to stop that from happening, doesn't he? I mean, he must do. He stops earthquakes and things like that all the time.
True. Kind of, maybe.
Yeah.
But think about it, right? At the core of this is a huge chunk of kryptonite.
Yeah,
solid bloody kryptonite.
Yeah, I'm not disputing that bit.
It pissed me off.
It rankles.
It makes no sense. It was like the writers just did not understand kryptonite, or what it meant, or what it does.
Or they did understand it, but didn't really understand, you know, how much Superman's meant to be able to take, which isn't much.
Yeah.
So then hospital, or rather, then he falls back to Earth after getting the meteor.
He becomes Super Meteorite, followed by Super Krator.
Yep, he falls back to Earth, smashes into a park, gets taken to hospital. They try and resuscitate him. Interesting.
They take out a piece of kryptonite.
A nice little sliver. It's a very small sliver, but it's there.
It's still
I know.
And it's pure kryptonite. It's not in its diffuse theory.
Yes. I am aware. You don't need to tell me.
And then we get the news going, this could be the end of Superman.
Fortunately enough, we don't. Don't believe that.
No, it didn't go into Spider-Man 3, but we saw it on the news, and the news now in superhero films, if they're doing with the death of, it's like, this could be the end. And then we see Perry with Superman is dead or Superman lives.
And Richard says, that's pretty morbid, Perry.
Yeah.